A couple of months ago, my team and I got to intern at Corridor Digital. We were there for 5 weeks and we got to work on tons of different crazy projects. And for a video nerd like me, it was a dream come true. So in this video, we're gonna go over the 5 big things that we learned interning at Corridor Digital. So I work with 2 of my best buddies, Dan and Sam. They help with all of the YouTube videos and courses and the short films that we make here on this channel. And we've been working together for a long time. And before I was doing YouTube videos, we worked together making a TV show. And one of the things that we would always do at lunch is watch videos from a little channel called Corridor Digital. And watching the Corridor videos was foundational for me wanting to be a better VFX artist, trying to figure out how they did these cool effects and got these crazy shots. And it just seemed like everything these guys made was just so far above what we knew how to make at the time. And so their influence immediately spilled over into our personal projects, making action movies and sci-fi.
Oh, shit.
We even made a cinematic trailer for one of our favorite video games.
You are ready.
And me and the guys even recorded a react video reacting to one of the Corridor Digital films.
Oh, nice. Like optic camouflage?
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, trip mine. Oh, snap.
It just looked really cool. Just
Lots of little touches that really made a difference.
absolutely.
And I'm not saying anything, but we were VFX artists and we were reacting. And, you know, that's kind of a big thing on their channel now. I want royalties. Over the years, we've watched just about every video these guys have made. We even got to shake their hands at NAB like forever ago. Through all of that, it's safe to say that these guys have been our YouTube heroes. So fast forward to a couple years ago, when we learned that we had a mutual friend that could introduce us to Corridor. We eventually ended up going to visit them last year for just a day to tour their studio and just say hi. Through all of this, I come to find out that they've been watching our videos to learn DaVinci Resolve, which completely just destroyed my mind.
You taught him how to use Resolve, and then he taught all of us.
Not necessarily Resolve, Fusion. Your bread video? Yeah.
Wow.
That's good stuff.
Fusion too. Yeah.
I remember the bread video.
Yeah.
Definitely a huge reason why we make, short films and stuff like that. Seeing what you guys make, and it's a huge inspiration, man. So thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Well, you're definitely a huge reason why we're able to switch the whole studio over to Resolve.
That's wild. And eventually I decided to float this idea by them of like, hey, how about we come and work with you guys and we can learn from you, we can help you out. They jumped on a video call and said, I think that is a fantastic idea.
What?
I did not expect them to say yes. And at the beginning of this year, we said goodbye to our families for a few weeks and we went and camped out at Corridor Digital. We stayed at an Airbnb. It was actually really nice. We didn't just sleep on the couch, although technically we could have.
It was originally a live workspace, which was great. It was like it allowed to be very cheap. We got the industrialized space with the added bonus that it was legal for us to live here and sleep here.
We helped them finish up the Pokeball in real life video. I did some rotoscoping. Sam did a bunch of sound design.
Pretty fun.
And then we got to jump on this really cool project where they're recreating the Indiana Jones face melt. We got to be part of this film from the very beginning, the very concept. And for the actual shoot, Dan ran camera and I got to do the lighting, which is one of my favorite things to do.
So Jordan and I wrote this weird little script that just kind of builds up the inevitable melting of Ren's face. So as soon as he starts screaming, then let's get the smoke in there.
Okay.
And we got the bulk of that shot and Matt sat down to edit it. Meanwhile, Daniel was working on this really huge project, which was a stop motion video, but not just a stop motion video where they 3D printed a model for every single frame.
All we have to do is 3D print every single frame.
So obviously this is a huge project, so we jumped on and helped Daniel with hours and hours and hours of putting together little tiny 3D Ren models. Fortunately, after a day or so of that, I had some VFX to help with, and so Dan did that. For a long time. Dan, what day of putting together little men is this?
2.
I'm 1 hour and then I'm done.
You immediately hate it. Little Rens.
This one's already had his makeup done.
So there was about 2 weeks there where it was all hands on deck just trying to help get the production of this thing done.
We are shooting a ad spot with Ren, and we have to make these printers look nice. So been cleaning up this area and working on lighting it so they look nice and everything. And I didn't know until just now, but apparently we're doing a read with Ren, and so I had to go down and find a light real quick and come back and do it because I was like, oh yeah, the printers look great. Daniel comes in and he's like, hey man, the printers look great, absolutely. Ren looks dark. And I was like, I didn't know we were shooting with Ren. I'm like, yeah, I bet it's because there's no light on him.
And throughout this whole experience, we're working all day at Corridor, and then we walk a couple miles back to our Airbnb and we work on our own videos. While we were down in LA, I recorded a huge part of our Intro to Fusion course, just kind of in the nights and weekends, using a laptop that was graciously provided to us from Puget Systems. If you don't know who these guys are, they are the experts on creating high-end PCs for video workstations. And Puget actually kind of saved our butts because I didn't want to pack my whole PC tower down to the Airbnb so that I could work on it after hours. So massive thanks to Puget Systems. Anyways, so we were helping them everywhere we could, helping Daniel shoot little Rens. Dan's working on lighting things and switching out models.
We're getting, hopefully, last few key shots for Daniel and Ren's 3D printed stop motion film. That's so sick.
Sam's in Fairlight doing the sound design, and I'm over doing the visual effects and the armature paintouts for these shots.
So he's floating in the air right here. So we can't have him floating, so we have to have this armature here. We have to erase it. And so kind of like you would erase something in Photoshop, it's kind of like that. In fact, it's exactly like that because we're really just dealing with stills. I have the dog starting here, and then he floats out, and then he sucks up into the Roomba like that, and then the Roomba eats him.
This is on top of all the normal stuff they're doing, their React videos, doing vlogs, and it was an absolute blast. I even got to hang out with them and be on their podcast, which was a ton of fun. I even got to sit down one-on-one with Nico, and he gave me all kinds of tips for making action movies better, making better gunshots, and you better believe that wisdom is going to be transferred to you guys very soon. We even got to blow up a Roomba.
Hey guys, yeah, welcome back to the vlog. Today we're just blowing some crap up. We're gonna make a bomb.
All right, we're gonna go hot in 3, 2, 1.
Woo!
That was fun.
3, 2, 1. It worked.
Hell yeah. I just want to do this a lot.
Yeah.
But throughout all this crazy experience, some major lessons kind of showed up for somebody who's into media and YouTube and a creative person. I think this is so good. The number one thing that I learned at Corridor Digital is to try new things. Nothing is off the table. Don't be afraid to think outside of the box and experiment. From 3D scanning Ren's face and 3D printing a mold for his head.
This is your head.
Yes. From the digital scan on that day at Otoy.
And creating this effect practically, to making a 3D printed short film that's the first of its kind, to experimenting with AI and other techniques, the guys at Corridor are not afraid to jump into the deep water and just try stuff. This is why they make such amazing content, is because when you're willing to try to jump in and fail, and you get up and you try it again, over and over and over, you learn so much. We can't be afraid to try new things. Which brings me to lesson number 2. There's always more than one way to do things. Even though in some ways what we do, making films, is similar to what Corridor does, the way that they go about it is in some ways really different. An example, the way that we do things here is we have someone who edits things, usually Dan or Sam, and then I'll do the visual effects and the color. Sam will do the sound design. Dan will usually take care of production and props and costumes, and we all kind of have our siloed jobs. And that's not really how they do it at Corridor, at least when we were there. Everybody there is sort of like a Swiss Army knife. They can kind of do anything. And there is an encouragement and a freedom for people to do whatever they want when it comes to their kind of jobs in production. Is one way better than the other? Not necessarily, they're just different. But it kind of opened my mind a little bit. There was another time when Daniel needed this shot, but he needed to perfectly recreate this dolly shot several times. And the motion control rig they have is a big robot arm that is impossible to carry up the stairs. The thing weighs like 1,000 pounds. And so what they did was they put the robot arm up really tall and clamped a series of C-stand arms to it so that it could reach over and push a dolly the same distance every time. And I looked at that and I'm like, that's not gonna work. Like, this is gonna be a disaster. But it freaking worked beautifully. There were so many times where I said, I don't know if I would have done it that way, but it works, which I think flows nicely into lesson number 3, which is to keep things fresh. Corridor is always looking for new ideas, new things that people haven't seen before. Their short films and sketches are a huge variety of different genres and feelings, and it keeps things interesting. And even their show VFX Artists React, which is a very similar format every single week, they have a different person do the bulk of the editing on that video every few weeks. And I asked them, I was like, why are you doing that? Why don't you just have somebody who is like specialized at this? And they said one of the major reasons is because we don't want people to be burnt out. That kind of edit takes a long time and a lot of concentration. And so you can do that kind of thing once every month or every few weeks and be okay. But if you had to do it every week, you might burn out. And so a big reason to keep it fresh is just to keep your mind fresh, to keep things interesting and to keep yourself motivated. Lesson 4, have the end in mind. We got to be part of several brainstorming sessions when we were at Corridor, talking about what video should we make next? What would be funny? What would be exciting? And every single time an idea was posted, they would immediately jump on it and tear it apart. Not in a discouraging sort of way, but the question was always asked, how do we market this? Which means, how do we present this to our audience in a way that's interesting? Because an idea can be great, it can be really fun, but if you don't really have an end product in mind, you aren't keeping in mind what is interesting to your audience, what's helpful, what's encouraging, what accomplishes the goal that you have as a company or as a creator, then it's not really that useful. Every single video they were talking about was story, story, story. What kind of story are we telling with this video? What kind of message are we sending? What are people going to think when they see the thumbnail? What are people going to think when they see the title? How do we make this just a little bit better and a little bit more effective for our audience? This is what makes a difference between a video that's fine and a video that's really great. Which brings me to point number 5, don't be afraid to work hard. This is overall and above the biggest thing that we learned at Corridor Digital. These guys are not afraid to work hard. That's why they make amazing things. Great stuff takes a lot of work. The first week I was there, I didn't even talk to Ren because he had his head down trying to figure out how to 3D print dozens of frames of this cloth simulation for the parachute for the little guy in the stop motion short. It was like at the end of the week, he kind of got it done and looked up at me and was like, hi. Because he was locked in. Not to mention that every film they make, they also make like a documentary for the behind the scenes. And it's not just an interesting behind the scenes, it is a experience.
2,000 3D prints. I program 30 camera moves. I animate 40 shots. Sam does sound. Casey does color. Dan helps me edit. Ren does VFX. I take a quick break to get engaged, and then I finish the short film. I really hope you like it.
I mean, there is next level production, even on the behind the scenes. Not to mention working on the same stop motion video for months. All of these things are necessary to make great stuff. They even have a guy on their team. All he does is make thumbnails.
When you're making a thumbnail, it's always like visual tone is so important.
And that is not an easy job. He'll spend all day on a thumbnail and then the whole team gets to comment on it and give feedback. And it's iterated 6 or 7 times until it's the best thumbnail it can be. And then once they put out the video, sometimes they'll completely redo the thumbnail, trying to try new things, keep it fresh and have the end in mind, trying it multiple different ways, and not being afraid to work hard to make that video the best they can make it. This is the kind of stuff that is real life just so inspiring to me. They say to never meet your heroes, but I can tell you that these guys are just as wonderful in real life and in the trenches and eating sandwiches as they seem like they are on the videos. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I'm so excited we got to do it. Again, huge thanks to Puget Systems for loaning us a laptop so that we could be productive on our off hours. And I recorded a deep dive video on how I did one of the effects right here. That's going to be out tomorrow if you're watching this the day this is published. And if you're watching it in the future, well, then it's already here. And all you have to do is just click on it and I'll show you exactly how I did this really cool shot. All right. Okay.